I want to start off with a little something here that I think would be important. And you may not be open to this, and that's fine. I call it end of the day feedback, and some guys would find this very offensive, and they're already feeling like they're kind of being parented and talked down to. So if one of your complaints is she's always being parental and correcting me, and it's very demeaning, then this end of the day feedback may not work for you. And I'll explain it. So this may not be for you, but if you're one of these guys that would like to know what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong without her gathering a huge list, she doesn't mention anything for 3 or 4 weeks or a couple months, and then she's having a bad day and she's wanting to accuse you of being a terrible person, and then she brings out this list of 25 things where you've been fucking up for the last 3 months, and you go, well, I didn't even know. And now you're just going to hit me with 25 things? I like to know when I mess up in the moment so they don't accrue, or certainly at the end of the day. And if you're one of these people that are blindsided by this huge litany of woes, and it's like, wow, okay, I didn't know I had been messing up that bad, then this end of the day feedback might be something that you would want to do. I hesitate to use the term report card because if you have a problem with this whole concept, that term almost makes it worse. If you want to do this, it would be best if she did it with a text, even if the two of you are in the same house. You're over in one end of the house, she's in the other, and she's going to give you the end of the day feedback. It would still be helpful if she would do it in form of text, because it'll be less personal that way. It'll feel less like a personal affront. So this is two-sided now. It's not just complaints anymore. It's what you've been doing right or what you haven't been doing wrong, which is the right thing. If you usually you take your shoes, dirty boots off by the front door, and then you leave them there, and then everybody has to climb over them when they come in, or she has to move them, and one day you didn't put your dirty boots by the front door, just take them off and throw them over there. That's technically something you didn't do wrong, which is something that you did right. So there's things you did right and also the things you didn't do wrong that you usually do. I know I'm saying right and wrong. That's very black and white thinking there. And then she's also going to follow that up with a few suggestions. I don't want her wording it. By the way, I would want her to watch this video. I wouldn't want her wording it, okay, well, here's where you messed up. Instead, it's like, okay, well, I noticed you did this. I appreciate that. And I noticed you didn't do this thing that you ordinarily do, and I appreciate that. And we probably need to work on such and such. So she's kind of wording it as a we thing instead of, well, you need to do this. So it's what you did right, along with a few words of appreciation about what you did right, and also some things that need to be worked on. That verbiage, for the NT wives that are watching this after the fact, that verbiage there, the way it's worded, is super important. Here's what I noticed you're doing right. Appreciate it. Here's a couple of things we need to work on.
If you're in a neurodiverse marriage and you find yourself thinking, how am I supposed to make all these accommodations with my ASD spouse? You're not alone. Many neurotypical partners end up, without meaning to, becoming the emotional coach, the meltdown manager, the communication interpreter, the social guide, and yes, the therapist. But here's the truth. You're not the therapist. You're the partner. And carrying both roles is not sustainable, not for you and not for the relationship. And hey, I know your heart was in the right place, but your therapy often made a bad problem worse. So today I'm going to give you permission and a blueprint to step out of that therapist role and reclaim your place as an equal spouse. Let's talk about how NT partners accidentally become the therapist, the trap nearly every NT wife falls into. When your ASD husband struggles with emotional regulation, communication, or empathy blind spots, you naturally compensate. Why wouldn't you? And at first, that works. Then it becomes a pattern, then a job, then an identity. You start anticipating emotional triggers, coaching him through every frustration, over-explaining your needs, translating his tone or behavior, absorbing his anxiety because he can't, walking on eggshells to keep the peace, and monitoring his meltdowns like a clinician, not a spouse. That's when the relationship shifts from marriage to management. Now, you didn't choose this. Your heart was in the right place again. You were doing the best that you knew how to do, given the circumstances. You adapted to survive. Yes, you did. But now you're exhausted, resentful, and feeling guilty for wanting to step back. Let me state this clearly. It's not your responsibility to regulate your ASD husband's emotions. It's not your job to be his therapist, and it is healthy to step out of that role. No need to feel guilty. You may ask yourself, how am I supposed to accommodate all these things? All the work is on me. Okay, well, when an ASD spouse makes requests that feel impossible, for example, requests for endless explanations, perfect predictability, zero emotional tone coming from you, or constant reassurance, you can often feel trapped between two spots. Between I want to be supportive and this is just too much pressure. It's cracking my brain and making me insane. The real problem isn't the request. The real problem is role confusion. You're trying to meet clinical needs using relational tools, and it doesn't work. So let's separate these roles once and for all. We need to look at what a partner is responsible for. As a neurotypical wife, you are responsible for some stuff. Speaking respectfully, being truthful, sharing your emotional experience, setting boundaries, staying open to repair, offering kindness, choosing connections when you can, stepping away when you must. That's it. Period. You are not responsible for managing meltdowns, calming anxiety, preventing shutdowns, fixing past trauma, being the safe person 24/7, teaching social skills, providing therapy-level emotional support. Those needs fall into a different category and they require a different solution. What is your ASD spouse responsible for? Okay. He's responsible for learning his triggers, practicing self-regulation, pursuing therapy or coaching, using coping strategies, expressing needs clearly, managing internal overwhelm, repairing ruptures, asking not demanding, calming himself before re-entering the discussion. This is how equality gets restored, because you can support him, but you cannot regulate him. Let's look at the needs for a professional versus needs for a partner. Here's a simple framework for you, the NT wife. It's a quick way to categorize whether a need belongs to you or to a therapist. Needs appropriate for a partner. Can we talk about how we can connect more? I need more clarity when we make plans. Can you let me know when you need alone time? I'd like us to schedule fun time together. Okay, those are relational, they're normal, they're mutual. Now here are needs appropriate for a therapist or an ASD coach. Help me manage my meltdowns. Teach me emotional regulation. Help me with rejection sensitivity. Explain my partner's tone to me. Help me not misread facial expressions. Coach me on how to communicate without escalating. These are clinical skills, not partner duties. So if you've been trying to fill those roles, no wonder you're tired. You've been doing two jobs. Now let's look at the NT partner's emotional exit strategy. Every NT wife needs one tool above all else, and it is this: an emotional exit strategy. This protects you from burnout and protects the relationship from unnecessary conflict. Here's how to use it. Number one, notice the red flags in your own body. Could be tight chest, pressure between the eyes, frustration turning into anger, feeling responsible for his emotions, the urge to over-explain, the I have to fix this panic. Number two, use a simple exit script. For example, I hear that you're upset. I care, but I'm getting overwhelmed. I'm stepping away to calm down. Let's revisit this later when we're both regulated. That's short, clear, boundaried, and kind. Step three, leave the interaction. Not angrily, not dramatically, just calmly exit. Step four, return later with a reset. Okay, I'm back. Let's start fresh. This strategy keeps you in the partner role, not the therapeutic one. Now let's talk about reassigning emotional responsibility back to your ASD husband. Here's the part that may feel uncomfortable for you, but incredibly freeing. The NT wife also has the mom brain and feels compelled to fix, to work on, to help. And why wouldn't you? Hey, your heart's in the right place. God bless you. But your ASD husband must carry his own emotional weight. That means he calms himself before re-engaging. He seeks therapy or coaching. He practices skills independently. He self-monitors rising anxiety. He regulates before discussing sensitive topics. And he does his work, not outsource it to you. That's not abandonment. It's empowerment. He grows, you breathe, and the relationship stabilizes. So let me leave you with this. Your role in the marriage is partner, not therapist. When you reclaim that role, everything shifts. Resentment decreases. Emotional weight becomes shared. Communication becomes clearer, connection becomes possible again, and both partners step into their actual responsibilities. If you've been carrying too much, if you've been doing all the emotional labor, if you've been trying to help enough to make the relationship work, Now is the moment to step back. Not out of the relationship, but out of the role that never belonged to you in the first place. So, a quick message to all the burned out NT wives out there. The ones that are burned out because you've been doing all or most of the relationship work. Here's your new mantra. How can I conserve energy? I want you to begin thinking, I need to conserve energy now. Because all your arguing, lecturing, threatening, reasoning with, compromising, getting angry with, is burning up precious energy that is going to affect you someday. You're wasting precious energy, and it's going to affect your mental health and your physical health. You're wasting it because your efforts, even though your heart's in the right place, it's yielding no positive result, and in too many cases, it's making a bad problem worse. You have to stop that. You're burned out. Conserve your energy. Save your energy for the things that are effective. Save your energy for the things you say and do that actually yield some kind of a positive outcome. So if you've been doing too much of the relationship work and you're burned out, think energy conservation. Fighting multiple battles is making you physically and mentally sick. I run into all the time, really, neurodiverse couples who fight every battle that comes down the pike. Neurodiverse couples are notorious for just piling a bunch of disputes on the table without categorizing, prioritizing. They won't talk about how sex isn't good, the money problems, kid problems, quality time or lack thereof, chores are not getting done, or somebody feels like they're doing all the chores, and pet peeves, dirty dishes, the in-laws, and the list just goes on, and they're both just chasing their tails, quite honestly. And the problem with that is, if you are not judicious about which battles to fight and you just fight everything, then you become toxic to one another. And you get the two of you in the same room, and it almost always ends up in some kind of a debate or argument or fight, etc. The problem with this is people who fight every battle that comes down the pike also are in a lot of emotional pain. Chronic, low-grade emotional pain is what I call it. And those who are in chronic, low-grade emotional pain tend to perceive slights and disrespect where there is none. And if they are always on the alert for any sign of disrespect or lack of cooperation or a personal insult or being controlled by the other person, etc., they're going to be much more willing to continue to fight every battle that comes down the pike. So over time, they're fighting more and more battles, thus increasing the emotional pain, and you're in this cycle. So obviously, you would want to do the opposite of that. And my suggestion would be to pick the top 3 issues that you want to resolve. I'm not saying don't fight any battles, and I am saying you want to do fair fighting. But you don't want to fight every battle that comes down the pike. And so I would say pick 3. Just for starters, pick 3, but don't fight all 3 at one time. So brainstorm about the most important issues. Keep it to 3 just for now. Try to have some dialogue on one of those 3. And then when you get some resolve on one of those, then you can move on to the second one. Then you can move on to the third one. All others are not fair game for one damn comment. Let me repeat that. Anything outside of those top 3 is not fair game for debate, argument, discussion, etc. Pick your battles carefully. And if you choose to fight every battle that comes down the pike, you are choosing mental illness and physical illness. And if you're getting sick by fighting too many battles at once, hasn't manifested in mental health issues or physical health issues yet, give it a few years, and then you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Hey guys, this is Mark, and a quick message to the neurotypical wives out there who happen to be empaths. If you are an empath, that's a great skill to have in most cases, but in some cases it's a detriment. We'll put it in the context of a neurodiverse marriage with your ASD husband. If you're an empath, then you not only feel your feelings, but you feel his feelings at some level. In other words, you're kind of unclear where your experience ends and his experience begins. And so since part of his experience or his feelings become part of your experience and your feelings, you're kind of confused as to where you end and he begins. And so you feel like at an unconscious level, you need to control him because you're feeling what he's feeling, You're experiencing what he's experiencing, and so you're confusing your personal experience with his personal experience. And so it's understandable why then you would want to control his words and behavior, because you don't see where the cutoff point is. I hope that makes sense. I know that was kind of obtuse. So your mission as an empath is to be thinking in terms of, okay, where do my feelings end and his feelings begin? Where does my experience end and his experience begins? And am I confusing my feelings and my experience with his feelings and his experience? And with this blending, with this gray area here, am I now trying to control him because he at some level has become part of me? And so I'm trying to control him so that I'm okay inside, which, by the way, is called codependency. Hey guys, this is Mark, and I got a quick message to the neurotypical wives out there. It's not uncommon for me to get comments on my YouTube videos from the NT wife where she says something like, well, Mark, it seems like you're the one that's making us do all the work. We're supposed to be responsible for all the relationship problems. We have to make all these allowances and, it's all on us. No, it's not all on you. If you will do the work that I'm suggesting and stop doing the work that you've been doing, which is not working, it'll actually cut your workload by 60%. So I'm not trying to increase your workload. I'm trying to reduce your workload. And your workload will be reduced if you'll stop doing what you've been doing and only do the things I'm suggesting. What are you suggesting, Mark? I'm suggesting you join my NT Wives Only group, because I'm not going to be able to give you enough information in a 2-minute YouTube video to help you out. There's going to be a link in the comment section and in the description area where you can register for an NT Wives Only group, and we will be going into great detail regarding what work to stop doing and what work to start doing.
Your constructive feedback, if you deliver it verbally face-to-face, he's going to instantly confuse that with the numerous times in the past where your feedback wasn't constructive at all. You were kicking his ass verbally. The risk of him getting anxious would be greatly reduced in a text message. Hey guys, this is Mark, and I got a message to neurotypical wives out there. Do you identify with any of the following statements? I often feel empty. My emotions shift very quickly, and I often experience extreme sadness, anger, and anxiety. I'm constantly afraid that my ASD spouse will abandon me or leave me. I would describe most of my marriage as intense but very unstable. The way I feel about my autistic spouse can dramatically change from one moment to the next, and I don't always understand why. I have had suicidal thoughts, and when I'm feeling insecure in my marriage, I tend to lash out or make impulsive gestures to keep my ASD spouse close. Now guess what? If you identify with any or most of that, those self-statements there coincide with borderline personality disorder. So the message is this: be careful accusing your autistic husband of having narcissistic personality disorder. Otherwise, he may be inclined to accuse you of having borderline personality disorder.
Quick message to NT wives. You want to know the quickest way to piss off your autistic husband? Tell him to calm down. So, quick message to the neurotypical wives out there. If you're like most of the neurotypical wives I run into, she will say, well, I have to do all the relationship work. I do all the work, and I'm exhausted. Well, your work isn't working. So for you, I'm talking about the ladies that may be thinking, I have to do all the relationship work, but yet you're really struggling in this neurodiverse marriage. Less work is better in this case. Less work. You might be thinking, well, if I do less work, then I won't be able to resolve these issues. You won't be able to resolve them anyway. Your work is not working, not resolving much. In fact, you're probably making a bad problem worse too often. I'm not faulting you. Your heart's in the right place. You're doing the best you know how to do given the circumstances. Your intentions were good. I've got a little message for some of the NT wives out there. I got an email from a lady, and she said that I had made a comment a few weeks ago that the NT wives are 50% of the problem, and they contribute to the relationship difficulty approximately 50%. And she thought that that was a rather cold and heartless statement to make. especially in light of the fact that a lot of these ladies, are depressed and whatnot. But I went on to clarify in her email the same thing that I'm going to tell you guys in this video. I'm not saying anybody did anything wrong. I am saying that her intentions were good. She was doing the best that she knew how to do at the time. Her heart was in the right place. She thought she was doing the right thing. She was trying to get him to get it. It being understand her feelings, understand her wants, needs, expectations, and so on. But unfortunately, the message delivery that she used ended up raising his anxiety and or made him feel like he was being criticized and or influenced him to do some version of a shutdown or a meltdown. So nobody is saying, ladies, that you're not justified in being angry. Nobody is saying you're not justified in being depressed. Nobody is saying that there's no such thing as Cassandra syndrome, or that you just need to grow up and forget about being a victim and all this emotional deprivation and all of this nonsense. Your hurts are justified. Your pain is justified. It's real. I recognize it. I deal with it every day working with the ladies online. I see it firsthand. So when I say that you're contributing to the problem at least 50%, sometimes a little more, sometimes considerably less, this is not a criticism saying you're doing anything wrong. I understand you're doing what you think is the most effective thing to do. Unfortunately, it's backfiring. And that's what I mean by that. And it's honestly, I have to be brutally honest at this point, it's sad. It's sad because I know that you want this relationship fixed. I know that you're hurt. I know that you're depressed. And I know that you're desperate and feel so alone. You've got to change your message delivery, ladies. There's no other way to put it than that.
Today I want to talk to the guys with autism spectrum disorder who are in a relationship with a neurotypical wife, and I wanted to look at why your NT wife might be so terribly unhappy with you right now. So she is no doubt highly intelligent in the social and emotional sense, and this by default means that she has a lot of social and emotional needs. But you, the husband with high-functioning autism, are comparatively low in social and emotional intelligence, which in turn means that your social and emotional needs are low as well. And this doesn't mean that you're stupid. In fact, you're probably smarter than me, and you're very high in logic. It's just that you're not wired to be super social or emotional, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's no shame in that. Because your wife's social needs are high, she enjoys social contact, and she enjoys sharing emotions with those who are important to her. Because your social and emotional needs are low, you tend to prefer activities that don't involve feelings or socializing much. You're a highly task-oriented person, and you tend to favor objects, projects, other non-social pursuits. One of the ways your wife gets her social and emotional needs met, or hopes to get met, involves her significant other, which is you, her soulmate, and her partner in life. But when you are emotionally unavailable due to spending most of your time with your special interest or your job, you're getting your task-oriented needs met, but your NT wife is not getting her relationship needs met because oftentimes you're busy doing things outside of the relationship. So it's often the case that the NT wife will then try very hard to get her husband to be a team player in the relationship. That is, she wants him to express feelings, to make her feel important, to validate her, listen to her, show affection, and to be deeply intimate in as many ways as possible. But when she doesn't get this accomplished, these very important goals, she is, of course, going to be very discouraged, disappointed, and possibly even harbor feelings of resentment because her emotional requirements are not getting fulfilled. So as the two of you grow further apart emotionally, you can continue to get your task-oriented needs met because they don't involve feelings or socializing necessarily. But at the same time, she is getting less and less of her emotional needs met. So this is why, guys, in most cases, the NT wife is not only unhappy, but often depressed due to what she might call emotional deprivation. And this is also why the ASD husband does not seem to be as negatively affected by the distancing that's going on in the relationship, because he can continue to engage in his non-social activities regardless of how much emotional reciprocity is lacking in the relationship. So if you want to imagine how your NT wife might feel, then picture this scenario here. Imagine that you're a computer geek who loves computer programming and doodling with digital devices and so on. But one day, for whatever reason, you get banished to a tropical island with no electricity. So now you're stuck there on this island with no computer, no iPhone, no iPad. You have virtually lost all of your special interests. And to make matters worse, let's assume that you hate idle chit-chat, but there are other people on this island always talking about mundane, boring topics that disinterest you so much that it's painful to even listen to them talking. So in this scenario, you're not suffering from emotional deprivation. Rather, you're suffering from favorite task deprivation. If you are in a neurodiverse marriage where one spouse is autistic and the other one is not, and you've been struggling for years and years, and you're kind of sick and tired of the routine, talk to me. Use me as your personal coach. I have groups, and I keep these groups small so that you can get a lot of one-on-one attention. I have 3 Q&A groups, one for ASD husbands, one for neurotypical wives, and I have a couples group where both spouses can attend. I also have 2 instructional groups, Cassandra Syndrome Recovery Group, to help you cultivate some strategies to recover from years of emotional deprivation, and the Men's Masterclass, in which we take a deep dive on developing social skills and emotional literacy in the context of the neurodiverse marriage. We meet 1 hour a week for 4 weeks. So how much longer are you willing to wait?
Hey guys, this is Mark. Click on the join button underneath any of my videos, then click on members only videos, and then click on join. And for $9.99 a month, you'll have access to members only videos, which are excerpts from previous workshops I've conducted for NT partners, ASD partners, and the neurodiverse couple. New videos will be uploaded weekly.